March 4th, 1992, class with Reverend Ann Hart. Did you get a copy of the 11 Steps for Unfolding Latent Powers? I'll give you a copy of that. I think Shirley got one, didn't she? I sent one for you.
No, I didn't get one yet.
You didn't get one yet?
Somebody might have it. Yeah, it's in my other book.
Yeah, okay.
I got it.
Okay, good, because I only got one left. I had exactly that many names. This is for you, Joe. It's pretty much self-explanatory. You're welcome. Okay. A creed is a summary of faith. Some creeds are very binding and not progressive. Now in spiritualism, it's not very binding. There's not a lot of verbatims like, thou shalt not do this, thou shalt not do that. But there are a lot of positive things that if you follow them, it's a very straight and narrow pathway. If you maintain the idea of personal responsibility for thoughts, words, and actions, then that's a very straight and narrow path within your own mind. Now I'm going to read you really quickly the Declaration of Principles from the National Spiritualist Association. Now we're universal here, but we do believe in the national also. We used to be a national universalist church. Okay. We believe in infinite intelligence. In other words, God. We believe in infinite intelligence. We believe that the phenomena of nature, both physical and spiritual, are the expressions of infinite intelligence. I sure would. We believe that the phenomena of nature, both physical and spiritual, are the expression of infinite intelligence. We affirm that a correct understanding of such expression and living in accordance therewith We affirm that a correct understanding of such expression and living in accordance therewith constitute true religion. We affirm that the existence and personal identity of the individual Did you get that? No? Okay. We affirm that the existence and personal identity of the individual continue after the change called death. In other words, to understand that more, if a person is a good person, they're going to have their memory with them. I mean, anybody will have their memory with them. If a person is a good person, they're going to be good on the other side also. You don't change. You change for the better. You can progress if you want to, but the individual's identity remains after the change called death. It goes back to the old saying that Reverend Tingley always says, death never made an angel out of a demon. In other words, a person goes to the plane where they belong, to the state of consciousness where they belong, whether it's lower or higher or wherever it is. They'll go with what they think, with their thought patterns and what they remember and things like that. That is why they come back and communicate. They're so thrilled that you remember them, because they definitely remember things. And I've had things come up in seances where they'd say, don't you remember such and such? I didn't remember it at the time, but when I thought about it, I sure did. So the memory and everything continues. The personal identity of that person stays there after the change called death. Now with animals, sometimes they go into a communal spiritual existence. It depends on whether they're well loved or not. If you have an animal that was like a human, that animal is going to retain its memory and come back to you. And I have that happen all the time. I mean, you've heard Mac. He's always bringing me dogs, and he laughs about it. He says, I hope this one isn't a dog, every time he gives me a name. But these dogs remember, they know they were loved, and they come back. If they're just a wild dog that has no human contact, or any kind of a wild animal, cat, dog, whatever, they will go into a communal animal existence spirit. They will not have a personal identity. But dogs and cats can become, and other animals, can become so humanized that they return just like a human does. And I've heard them bark in the seances. They rub against your legs, everything. That's really the way it is. Okay. So that one was reaffirmed that the existence and personal identity of the individual continue after the change called death. Number 5, we affirm that communication with the so-called dead is a fact. Scientifically proven by the phenomena of spiritualism. Did everybody get that? Okay. Okay, that's self-explanatory. We all know, we've all seen mediumship, we know what that is. We know it's true and it's genuine. Okay, number 6. We believe that the highest morality is contained in the Golden Rule. Whatsoever ye would that others should do unto you, do ye also unto them. I almost didn't say that. You know what I'm saying. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. In simpler terms, without all that fancy language. So we believe in the Golden Rule. I hate all those these, thous, and whatsoevers and all that stuff. It just complicates it. Number 7. We affirm the moral responsibility of the individual, and that he makes his own happiness or unhappiness, and I'll break this up for you, as he obeys or disobeys nature's physical and spiritual laws. Okay, we affirm the moral responsibility of the individual. And that he makes his own happiness or unhappiness. as he obeys or disobeys. Nature's physical and spiritual laws. In other words, it goes back to responsibility. We are responsible for what we do. If we have a lot of misery, we have brought it on ourselves by our thoughts, words, and actions. If we have a lot of happiness, we have brought that on ourselves. Sure, negative forces are going to creep in. I told you all about the mail being stolen, and I had a horrible time with it. Oh, yes, I was just miserable. Someone stole the mail out of the mailbox, and all my money was in it, and stuff like that. Money from several different sources was in it. And other things that I really needed. And I was just miserable. And I had a dream that warned me of it. And I didn't pay attention to it. I had no idea. I saw this great big black snake jump down on me. And some 4 people came in the room and killed it for me. I didn't want them to kill it. But I didn't want it to bite me either. And I was afraid of it, yet I wasn't. So I didn't pay much attention to it. I told Jim about it. And he doesn't like to do dream interpretation especially, so he didn't say anything. I knew snakes were the symbol of wisdom. I knew they were also the symbol of somebody that's a snake in the ground. So I checked it out after this happened with the mail. Spirit said to me, well, don't you remember the dream with the snake, the big black snake? And I said, yes, I do. They said, that was our message to you. I said, well, was it positive or negative? They said it was both. It was a dual message that you are about to break through on some mediumship that you're trying to get, and the negative forces are coming at you very strongly. So again, the higher you climb, the colder it gets. Laurel was telling me all the negative things that were happening to her, and it's because she's ready to break through on a new form of mediumship, and the negative forces will try anything they can to get you to be swayed from that, whether it's spiritual development in the way of mediumship or just personal growth. They will try anything they can. And this really did me in. I really messed up because I got really hysterical for days over this.
When was this?
It started happening last Tuesday, and I kept checking the mail, and Corrine kept checking the mail, and I thought she got it, and she thought I got it. So it went on. But I knew certain dates when those things should have been there, and they weren't there, and I got really suspicious, and I said, they are being stolen. Everybody said, nope, they're not. They'll be there. I said,
Did you find out who took them?
I know who took them, but they put them back, and I'm just going to drop it.
You
I
got
can't
it?
prove it. I got it back today.
Good. That's fabulous.
Somebody snuck over in the middle of the night and put it back.
Somebody had
After I stood out in the front lawn and screamed at all the neighbors, watch your mailboxes, there's a thief in the neighborhood, and looked at the house. You know, they got the idea.
Somebody
But it got it back. I'm not a quiet sufferer. Yes, I did. I stood right out in the front lawn screaming yesterday. Anyway, the negative forces will come at you. But we are responsible for the main part of our happiness or our inner peace or whatever. That comes from us. So in the other side of the coin is that even though those negative forces do come at you, you don't lose it and go hysterical, which is what I did, and I think I damaged a few things that I was trying to really work on. So that's a good lesson for everybody. Anger.
All about it, the convalescent home. I'm trying to
Yes,
that too.
anger is a very hard
I
one.
told him.
If you do something like that, and then, you're really trying to make progress, and you say, okay, now this happened. Well, now I have to accept that this happened because of blah, blah, blah. And then somebody else said, well, aren't you upset? And I said, well, no. Well, you should be upset. And I'm thinking, well, okay, this was supposed to happen, although I didn't want it to happen. But, how do you balance that out?
Okay, you do the best you can. You take it one step at a time, do all the positive things you can to change that situation,
Yeah.
and then turn it over to God. The only way I got
keep it
my...
over first.
Yeah. Do everything you can. There is a responsibility of
Yeah.
the individual to do as much as they possibly can physically themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then is when God takes over. I did everything I could. I called places, I did everything I could to get this back and to get it investigated and everything like that. But meanwhile, I went to the seance room, and that's who got it back. Mabel Riffle is who got it back. Because she said, don't worry, I'll have a solution for you. And by God, this morning when I came down here and looked at it, there it was. She had apparently got into someone's mind, whoever took it, and worked on them and said, you better put it back because she knows you did it. You know, and worked on them and got that mail replaced. They had it for a week, so we know they were trying to steal it. They were just trying to get up the nerve.
In that house when she was doing that.
I would have loved it too. Mabel is able. Okay. Number 8. Thank you, Laura. We affirm that the doorway to reformation is never closed against any human soul, here or hereafter. Reformation. We affirm that the doorway to reformation is never closed against any human soul, here or hereafter. In other words, progression never ends. We always progress if we want to. We progress in the physical, we progress in the spirit, and we can always have a chance to undo the wrong we did if we are sincere. There's always that chance. We affirm that the precepts of prophecy and healing contained in the Bible of prophecy and healing contained in the Bible are divine attributes proven through mediumship. I'll read it all again. We affirm that the precepts of prophecy and healing contained in the Bible are divine attributes proven through mediumship. So that is an example of a creed, or a declaration of principles is what we call it. We don't call it a creed. That is free. It doesn't say, do not do this, do not do that. You're a bad person if you do this. You know, it's not full of negative stuff. It's all positive. And most creeds of your standard religions are very negative and very, like some say, don't wear makeup. It's a sin to wear makeup. You can't drink a beer. All that stuff. I just don't believe in that. I believe in moderation in all things. It says that in the Bible. Moderation in all things. The Bible also says, come, let us reason together. So if we discuss things and think them through as a class or as friends or whatever, we're going to have some good outcome because we're going to have a lot of input from different mindsets.
Okay, while we're on that,
Yes.
my mind's been spinning for the last couple minutes.
Yes.
Do you really think when the more you progress that it's evil spirits that are attracted to you? My impression has always been that when I'm in the process of doing a new development and unfolding, I'm shifting my own energy.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do that, I'm a lot more prone to throw myself a little bit out of balance and have something that's a negative drawn to me as opposed to, oh wow, look, she's getting farther along, we better come.
No, Spirit says it in the seance room. It is negative forces. They say that. They say they are absolutely. I did not say evil. I said negative. There's a big difference. Mm-hmm. Evil is undeveloped good. The positive and the negative run like a railroad track. In fact, Spirit mentioned that to me again. They run hand in hand. But with that progression, you should have the way to overcome it and to not let it throw you. But it is definitely negative forces, yes. It is negative forces that are trying to destroy the spiritual progression. Like when this happened, I thought, hey, I've had it with Toledo. I've had it. I thought, I'm done. All I wanted this money for was to help the church. All of it, I thought, now that gets taken away. I thought, I'm just going to give up and go back to Sandusky and forget this. And I really meant it. And then Spirit stepped in, and I got my mind changed real quick. But anyway, no, it is definitely negative forces. But I imagine that we do draw them in. That's a good point. We do draw them in by maybe being a little unbalanced. It allows them to function.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's no, as I'm progressing, then there's got to be a shift in the energy that's around me. So
Yeah.
if I hold something else, there's got to be a shift in
Well, don't forget, though, that
I am.
the more you progress, the more energy you're going to have.
Yeah.
Because your guides are going to see to that. The more you progress, the more spiritual energy you will have for every phase of your life, not just the spiritual things, but for the physical things also. You will go from morning till night. There will be a time in your mediumship development that Spirit will demand you to go from morning to night, every waking minute, busy, 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 to open your chakras. And they do give you the energy to do
That
it.
must be what's happening to me.
Well, I'll give you an example. Spirit told me last night in the Universal Healing, they said, your new time to go to sleep instead of 2 o'clock is 2:30. And I said, okay. And I'm thinking, oh boy, you know. And they said, don't worry. This is a Lenten season. It is a holy season. It begins, and there will be more spiritual energy on the earth plane, and you will do just fine. You will have no problem. And that goes for everybody, not just me. There will be more spiritual energy right now because it is a holy season. And you will be able to accomplish more, keep going, doing things, always being busy. And this gets your chakras going, and it opens your mediumship. So do as much as you can. Don't kill yourself, but do as much as you possibly can. Keep functioning, keep going. And something that, when a person doesn't feel good, this is very strange to me, but it's a fact. Spirit will never let me lay down when I don't feel good. If I'm throwing up or have the flu or something, oh no. No laying down. It makes it worse on a medium. Mediums are different than normal people. It makes them worse. It'll make you sicker, and it'll take you longer to get well. So that's just a little tip. I know you said you've been surrounded by sickness and stuff, and God knows everybody's had their share of it this year. But when you do get
I
that,
think it's a testing, Ann, because I'm trying to get here so bad. And
yeah,
I
that
put so
could be.
much
They're trying to keep
commitment.
you away.
And also, I think, too, as you go higher, like I said, the testing and all that, and more like she's saying, out of balance, the harder it comes at you.
Yeah.
But it strengthens you. It's a strengthening.
Well, call in your guides, because the guides will step in with more energy and with that strength for you. They will. They guarantee it. They do. And right now there is more energy and more spiritual power at this time
That
of
way
year.
we're more negative. I think they come in again.
Well, they come in. They run
together.
parallel, Shirley.
That's what I say.
Yeah, the negative will come right in, sure. But the positive will be there, and positive is always stronger than negative.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Sacred books are the Bibles of the world. It's God speaking to man through mediumship and through spirit. I'll run that by you again. Sacred books are the Bibles of the world. God is speaking to man through mediumship and through spirit. The Bible is not one big book. It's a group of books. There are 66 books in the Bible.
You ever heard of Ezra, E-Z-R-A, that copied it? I'm reading a lot about that, and he only took parts, so therefore, confusion.
I'll tell you, every Bible is parts. Every Bible has been changed. Every Bible has been changed to suit the religion that whoever was in power, the rulers at the time. It is a mass form of crowd control, the way they used it. They've all been changed. You will not find a true Bible, I don't think. They've all been changed. That is why there are certain things, it's very contradictory if you really sit down and read it. Very contradictory. One says don't converse with spirits in the Old Testament, and the New Testament says concerning spiritual gifts, I would not have you ignorant. You know, it's very contradictory. It's a lot of people's opinions. It's a group of books that were written by several different people, many different people, and it is a group of opinions to begin with.
Written over a period of 1,000 years.
Yeah, written over the period of 1,000 years, and then it has been changed. The Catholics have a completely different Bible. That really threw me when I became a spiritualist, because I went to school at the Catholic school for years and taught by the nuns, and that was the way it was. And then when I heard things here, I thought, wait a minute, you know. But I knew that this way was right, because I knew that the Catholics were only giving me part of it. That's why I became a spiritualist. You know, I knew it was a preparation. But
That's a preparation.
it is. It's a good preparation. They taught us how to meditate when we were children and everything like that. It's a very good preparation. There's a lot of spiritualists that were Catholic.
The saints, and they did believe in purgatory and a lot of things where the Protestants didn't.
Yeah.
So you had some background we didn't.
I've had a lot of background in the Catholic faith. A lot of it.
Born and raised Catholic.
Yeah, I was too. But all religions are good. They all have good things in them, and all roads that lead to God are good. There's good in every single religion, as long as it's not a satanic type thing. You know, the God religions, I'll put it that way. And not just the Christian religions either. They're all good. They all have good points in them. But the thing is to find what really appeals to you on all the levels, and what hits the heart for you. Okay, Ta Biblica, T-A-B-I-B-L-I-C-A. It's two words. T-A is one word. B-I-B-L-I-C-A means the books. That's Latin. It means the books, literally translated.
Are you allowed to read the Bible when you're on
No, not as a Catholic.
No.
I did.
Yeah.
I did, and some of the nuns were more progressive than others and would read parts from the Bible.
Yeah, but no, I'm not Catholics didn't.
No, you're not allowed to.
I never
They will
even
not.
heard of it.
You have got to. The way they do it is they have a priest come in every day for an hour, and he tells you his interpretation of the Bible. And if you ask questions, they tell you to shut up or wait a minute, and they never answer them.
Right.
And I got that for years there.
Females kept down. Or the
Yeah,
males.
that's right. It's very
All
true.
through
They told me I had mediumship when I was a little girl, and I didn't know what it was, and I kind of got away from it in the teen years and in one of the teen years. Anyway, things were happening around the school, and I knew about it. So one time this girl went into a fit, an epileptic fit, and I could see her doing it, and I was in church. And I went up to the nun and I said, "Excuse me, but that girl over there is having an epileptic fit," and I was like a second grader. And she said, "What?" And I said, "Yeah," and the girl started to have one then. She had not had it, but I saw it as already happening. But they told me they wanted me to become a nun because they knew that there was something there that could not be explained by their teachings. And that's why I'm not Catholic anymore, because I knew there was more, and I always knew it. And I always got told not to ask.
They say all religions, if you're on the spiritual path, you're going to end up in spiritual somewhere.
Yes,
This is what
that's
I'm reading,
right.
And this is a melding pot. The
That's right.
spiritual, to move the doors open, to go on. The Holy Bible served its purpose in its day. Now we have other Bibles, like we have the Clarion Gospel, and now the Bible I'm into too. The one of the future, what have you, the one I'm into. It explains all this.
Well, the Bible is still viable. All Bibles are viable to a point, depending on... You have to be able to figure out what is pertinent to you, to figure out the truth. Okay, the Bible was the early religious writing of all people. AD means Anno Domini. It's Latin. A-N-N-O A-D. You know, like 12 A.D.
After death,
Anno Domini. means in the year of our Lord. ANNO, capital DOMINI, in the year of our Lord. That's what that means. Anno means year, Domine means God or Lord. BC, B period C period, means before Christ. The old Hebrew god Jehovah. The old Hebrews pictured Jehovah as an Old Testament, jealous, very human God in the Old Testament. Very human. Another term for, an old term for God is Yahweh. Capital Y-A, capital W-E, Yahweh. You'll hear all these mentioned over the years, and then you'll know what they are. It's not really important to us as spiritualists, except that we will be informed and to know what we are doing.
Does that sometimes have an H on it?
It could, yes. It just depends.
Seems to me accurate.
Yeah. Okay, another one is Osospi, Osospi. O-S-O-S-P-I. O-S-O-S-P-I. Osospi.
H's were added to the names when people that were like evolving in the Holy Spirits had done their development and enlightenment. Hebrews would add the H to the person's name to show that they had gone through their unfoldment.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Like
Abraham and Sarah.
Yeah.
Right. The H would
H.
show them as being an unfolded, enlightened person.
Oh, I didn't never know that. That's good.
And the Yahweh is also one of the stones of the ruins. It's also the name of one of the ruin stones.
Oh, runes, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, ancient spiritualism refers to the phenomenon prior to the Hydesville knockings with the Fox sisters. Most of you probably know this, but Leah and, let's see, what were the other one's names? Margaret? Martha? Margaret? Or was it? There was three of them.
Right here they are.
Yeah. What's their names?
Mother's Mary. Yeah, Leah.
Leah.
Catherine?
Catherine, I think, was one.
Margaret. John.
Margaret.
Kate.
Okay.
Kate, 9 years old.
Okay, anyway, the Fox sisters, they heard the rappings at Hydesville, I think that was about 1848, 1847, something around there.
They both on that.
There was an itinerant Jewish peddler, Charles, I can't ever say his name. Say it, Ruby.
And I know it,
Rashna or something.
Rashna.
It's not quite right.
R-O-M,
No, it was Charles. What is it, Corrine?
I know it, but I can't. They call it,
Why are we having this?
they call him
Mr.
Split
Split.
Yeah,
And,
Yeah, that's what they refer to.
R-O-S-M-A, Roshma. R-O-S-M-A, Roshma.
Okay.
You had-
Jim said it was
Started
Rosna.
March 31st, 1848.
Yeah, 1848. Anyway, that was the beginning of modern spiritualism. When they heard those rappings and knockings, and he told the story of how he'd been murdered in the house. And that was the beginning of modern spiritualism. After that, there was a big rebirth of spiritualism. A lot of people got into it. There were a lot of spiritualist churches. There were a lot of people interested around the turn of the century. And not just people that were superstitious and considered ignorant, but very eminent people were spiritualists at that time. And there was a time right after that, Arthur Conan Doyle. Who else? There was another one. I read all this stuff, and now I can't think of it. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, Oliver Lodge, and there was another one, Hitton or Lytton. I don't know where. I've been reading all day, and I've got my... What's that? Swedenborg, yes. Emanuel Swedenborg. That's excellent. Okay. Now we're going to go into a different subject of how to give a sermon. And it's going to be very brief, the explanation. The first thing you make is the opening statement or the primer. P-R-I, this is all going to be done in P's, the 6 P's. So the first one is primer, which is the opening statement. In other words, you're going to give them a little bit of an idea of what your speech is, what you're talking about. You're going to want a primer that grabs them, that gets their interest, and they want to hear more. Okay, the next one is picture. You illustrate. You draw a mental picture for that person. Or for your group, whatever, whoever you're talking to. Whether it's in church or otherwise. So that's the picture. The next one is the point. P-O-I-N-T, point. That is the explanation of the picture. The next one is the persuader. You have to make those people that you're talking to believe what you're saying. You have to persuade them that it is right. Of course, before you do that, make sure you're getting the right information before you do that. So the persuader. So we have the primer, the picture, the point, the persuader. And now we have the pledge. And the pledge is the rewards that are gotten by doing this. The rewards received by doing this. In other words, if you're a good person, you're going to live a good life, you're going to have happiness, something like that as an illustration. So that's the pledge, the rewards. The penalty is the last one. And that would be like, if you don't abide by this, you could end up miserable, you could end up, being very unhappy or whatever. So always use those 6 points when you're doing a sermon. Now, Reverend Tingley goes into a very much more detail than I went into. And he's really a wonderful speaker, the best. I've had people from all over tell me that they've heard a lot of lecturers, but he's the best. And those are his rules. And he's about the most persuasive speaker I've ever heard and the most knowledgeable. He knows those things by heart. I mean, he's got them ingrained in his subconscious. He just stands up there and it flows. And that's because also his spirit guides are working through him.
Well, that's the truth. He knows what we're looking for.
Yes, he does. It's just like it's directed right at the person. And his guides know. That is a lot of... yes. It's a lot of inspirational speaking that he does. He gets up there, he doesn't prepare. He might meditate. That's why there's a sign on the door, in meditation, please do not disturb, because he's trying to meditate a little bit and get himself in the right frame of mind. But as far as preparing, he does not do that. Somebody touch you? Mm-hmm. Bob Thompson's with us here tonight. He's been here all evening. Yeah, that's right. That's for sure. Probably more like, yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, it might be 50, I don't know.
50 sounds...
50, because he started when he was about 14 years old.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right. I
Yeah.
knew about that.
He was a gifted medium as a child. He instead of going to dances and things like that or playing with the kids, he went home and did readings. People would be lined up for blocks, you know, to Reverend Tingley. Yeah. Okay, we've already gone into the chakras. Your doctors, just as a matter of mentioning, are from the fourth plane. Your doctors. That's a fourth plane communication. We're going to talk a little bit about physical mediumship. Now, we all know we've been studying a little bit, or seeing in practice a little bit about transfiguration. And that has been very successful. All of our mediumship that we have done in this class has been successful. Sometimes people get no results. And most people don't. But there's a lot of spirituality and a lot of development in this class. And when those things are attempted, it is because all the harmony, all the vibrations are harmonized and the power goes to spirit. They are using power from everybody in this class to help the medium who is sitting, regardless of who it is. So there's a lot of power in this class. So anyway, there's 3 specific categories of physical mediumship. Our materialization, which is solid ectoplasm. It has weight and substance. It's just like the earth plane. It has weight and substance, just like solid materialization is just as solid as I'm standing here. I've seen it myself over the years. I've seen it with Reverend Tingley. Their touch is as solid as if you... Spirit likes to... Sometimes when Reverend Tingley is here, you'll notice that a spirit might come up to you and touch your crown chakra and go like that to open it up. And their touch is just as real as your own or anybody else's. So that is solid materialization. That is the hardest, the most difficult to acquire, is materialization. I think you all know that the mental mediumship generally comes first, and then physical mediumship. That's usually the way, but it doesn't always have to be that way. Depends on the individual. Transfiguration, that's what we've been doing, is when ectoplasm builds over the medium and changes the features of the face and the body sometimes. And then there's transfiguration. We had that etherealization. That is transparent ectoplasm. You can see through it. It's not formed. It's unformed ectoplasm. It's just kind of in the air. I'm sure we've all seen that a lot of times. I know I've seen it every time we've sat in the dark. Etherealization. E-T-H-E-R, as in ether. I-A-L-I-Z-A-T-I-O-N. Etherealization. So usually you develop the mental phases of mediumship, clairaudience, clairvoyance, that type of thing, psychometry, those types. That's all mental mediumship. And then the physical mediumship comes. But physical mediumship is tremendously more difficult to develop. They call it the road to sainthood. because they want you to be such a perfect vehicle, because spirit cannot do that physical mediumship unless they have a very almost perfect vehicle to work through. They cannot sully themselves with low vibrations. It has to be very high. It has to be calm and peaceful and able to be a host to that spirit that you're trying to deal with, that you're trying to attract. So that's why physical mediumship is much harder, because mental mediumship you can get away with a lot. Really. You can, you're dealing with a lot of people with problems, and some of them are their own doing, most of them, and some of them are low vibrations. But in physical mediumship, you're going to have to be pretty high vibratory. Okay, mental phenomena. That has to do with mind comprehension and capability. Mind comprehension and capability. So develop your imagination. When you develop your imagination, it helps with visualization, which is very important. Spirit has to have that framework to work through. So the more educated, the more, if you're educated in the right things, the more smart you are, the more mental capability you have, the easier it is for Spirit to work through you, and the better medium you're going to be, or the better mental impressions you will get. So develop your minds, read, do everything you can to develop and get that mentality really going, because then your guides can help people more. They can work through you. You'll be more educated, you'll be more aware, and you can help people more. Because again, that's what it's all about, is service to humanity in one way or another. Okay, in metaphysics, there is no time and no space. There is no element of time or space in metaphysics. The way Spirit, we have a seance every night at 10 o'clock for healing, the universal healing. The way Spirit